my dad's generation work at a factory, work at that job 40, 50 years.
Yeah, get a gold-plated watch
There you go.
40 years.
Nowadays it's like, let me find my passion and my dream and whatever, and they'll keep jumping.
Well, you used to get a pension.
Yes. Yes.
When was the last time you heard of a job offering a pension?
There you go.
Hey, everyone, and welcome back to the Hustle on Purpose podcast. My name's GT Ikard, and today we have a very special guest, Nikki Burgess West. Nikki, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Yay.
Yeah.
My entrance.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll add some applause in there.
Right.
Yeah. The crowd goes wild.
Yes.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I'm really appreciative of you coming out today. We've known each other for a little bit through church, and you've been a loyal member of our business leaders group, which I appreciate. That group has been great for me, and I've taken some time off from that group because of the newborn and everything. Right. But we're having our meeting again late August. So
nice.
I'm excited to be starting that up again. But anyways, so for anybody that doesn't know you, just tell us a little bit about you.
Okay. Nikki Burgess West. I was born and raised in Wichita, Kansas, and a small town outside of Oklahoma called Choteau, Oklahoma. Choteau.
Cool.
Oklahoma. Most people would know Tulsa. It's about 45 minutes from Tulsa.
Okay.
But my family has farmland there, so summers hunting and fishing, and
okay.
I was raised as a tomboy. So this nails and hair was never my thing. I would be hunting and fishing and
What's
working
your favorite thing to hunt?
Pheasant.
Pheasant. Okay.
Yeah,
cool.
I grew up with the Bugs Bunny era, so I never really kind of understood the rabbit thing.
Duck season.
Yeah.
Rabbit season.
Yeah, I never really, so I would say pheasant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been pheasant hunting once, and it was awesome. Mm-hmm. But I got spoiled because it was in South Dakota, and just by happenstance got invited on this like really nice hunting trip. And, there was corn farmers that just leave rows of their crop unharvested. Mm-hmm. And you just march down this row with a line of guys and a few dogs, and it's like pheasant just
shoot out. Yeah. It's easy.
Yeah, it was like cheating.
Yeah.
But it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I imagine your experience was probably a little different. You just
definitely.
You just walk through a full field.
Yes, because it's Oklahoma and Kansas. I mean, you do have your sunflower fields, and but no, it's more open plains. Yeah. So it wasn't that nice. You had to sometimes climb up in trees and
really
just kind of, that would be more for the deers, but no, it wasn't that nice.
It sounds cool.
But it was fun. I was with my father, so it was just bonding time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know that I even really truly knew what I was doing.
Right.
But it was just time with my father.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's sweet. It's like nowadays that I'm grown with a family and small kids, I have to literally carve out some time to go duck hunting when it's duck hunting season with a couple of buddies. And if we don't see a duck, it's still a great weekend. It's just some time to get out, and you get out there and it's freezing cold, but you see the sunrise, but you're with some friends. And it's your phone's away, all of the stuff that kind of just naturally gets in the way of enjoying our day-to-day stuff. Mm-hmm. It's nice to just get out there, connect with nature a little bit, connect with some friends. And it's not even about the blood sport, the thrill of the hunt. It's man, just some quiet time with friends is amazing.
Away from the hustle and bustle.
Right.
Very much,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But then my mom was originally from Louisiana.
Okay.
And when she got all of her children raised, she decided that she would call herself moving back towards the South. She was headed to Louisiana and stopped in Little Rock and loved it.
Wow.
just randomly stopped here, and she stayed. So I ended up moving when I graduated. I moved from Wichita to Little Rock, and that's what landed me in Little Rock for the last 28 years.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So you liked it as well, I guess.
I did because, again, like I say, coming from Oklahoma and Kansas, it's nothing but straight plains and just acres and acres of flat land. Mm-hmm. When I first came and I crossed over the 430 North Bridge and just seeing those mountains and the houses, on the hills and the views and all. I mean, it's called the natural state for a reason, and it's just so beautiful. And I fell in love with the nature. So yes, I have learned and grown to love Arkansas also.
Yeah, I mentioned it before on here. Like growing up, I felt like Little Rock was too small for me. Needed to move to a big city. Got a little bit older, started visiting big cities, and was like, "Whoa!" Like I had it wrong.
Yeah.
Arkansas is a bit of a hidden gem. I think it gets a bit of a bad rep, but it's a beautiful place.
It really is.
I've driven several times west out of Little Rock. Going through Oklahoma, Texas, Arizona, New Mexico, all of that. And man, you hit 40 going west, and it's almost like as soon as you hit the Arkansas border, it is just flat nothing. I've driven nonstop 23 hours from Little Rock to Phoenix, Arizona.
Oh, wow.
And it's a little miserable.
It is. Mentally. It's,
right.
Yeah.
And like it's not Arkansas above everything and it's the most beautiful place. There are plenty of nice places along the way and wonderful cities in those other states. But specifically that 40 West, it's kind of just that, the quickest way from A to B is a straight line. Like they just kind of drew a straight line.
Yes.
And like the interstate just doesn't go through much.
It doesn't.
I mean, I stopped to eat at a Waffle House in Amarillo. I was starving. Got back in my car and kept driving. Like, not to just bash on Amarillo, but the smell. Just got out of the car and was like, this was a mistake.
Yeah.
I'm just going to keep driving. And all the stops along 40 are like one gas tank apart, right? It's just like, the interstate was built and then the gas stations just popped up at like intervals for when you need gas.
Right. Yes.
It's just there for utility. It's not there for the enjoyment of your eyes.
Yeah. No, it's definitely nothing.
But anyways, it's interesting so your mom moved here just kind of stopped on her way through. I think about this now that I'm a parent. It's like how those decisions that I make can really just have that drastic effect on my kid's life. Yes. It's like, because I think about my wife's story. Her story, it's not crazy, but like the things that had to happen that led her to like being here. And then you start getting into like, that's how we met and that's how we had our kids. And a lot of that stemmed from what may have seemed like inconsequential decisions in like her grandparents' life. You know what I mean? It's just interesting to hear like your mom on her way to Louisiana fell in love with Arkansas, stopped and stayed.
Right.
And then like that led to you being here 28 years later.
And she's no longer with me, but she literally has maybe 20 great-grandchildren now in Arkansas.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that possibly would have been in Kansas or Oklahoma.
Right.
Yeah. So no.
Or Louisiana.
Yeah. I don't know that we were. Yeah. But yeah.
Louisiana is very much its own thing. Like I guess it's not uncommon for states to just have their very own feel. Yes. But it's interesting to me as I've got like more friends in Louisiana and we seem to go more often. But it's like its own country. It's got its very own culture. Yes. It's got its own lingo. Like I come from Arkansas where it's It's counties. You cross over the border and it's parishes.
Yeah.
And it's just got its very own thing.
Like we say, y'all. And my mother would like die if she heard.
Really?
Like there's no slang, no Southern talking.
Yeah.
You need to pronounce your words and dictate. Yeah.
She was very like proper.
Yes. But that was growing up in the South, and you had to present as a person of color. You had to present yourself as educated, well groomed. So she made sure that we always presented ourselves in a certain way. So when we speak, she heard like kind of some of the y'alls and round there, and I'm fixing to. She would have a fit.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, you have always, in the time that I've known you, I mean, you're very like mannerly and well put together, like always.
Thank you.
Have you felt kind of a need to like push that on your kids as well?
Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think that.
I don't think it's unfortunate.
Well, yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I do. But I think that it's something that's needed. I think that a lot of things that we were trying to change, I do think as generations, we do need to advance ourselves. But there are some things that I do think that were not broken. Manners, common sense, respect, a huge one. Those are old school values that I think that should have never changed. But getting your education and all that, that needed to be advanced. But those core values, I definitely push those, especially respect. That's just something that overall didn't need to change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with you 100% on that. This episode of Hustle on Purpose is brought to you by Arkansas Real Estate Buyers. If you have a problematic piece of real estate, we would love to help you. Go to the description, click on the link, schedule a free consultation with me personally, and we'll get you set up. Now let's get back to the show. It's just interesting. I think it's like the lens that it's kind of like pushed through, right? Because you mentioned your mom feeling the need to push that on you because you have that added pressure of being a Black woman and fighting against kind of any perception, I guess is the word, that might come along with that. Because like I want to push those values on my kids. I want them to be respectful and mannerly and conduct themselves in a way that represents themselves well, represents our family well.
Correct.
Right? Represents their faith well. But we, as a very Caucasian man, and my kids are super white, like white out white, right? Like
right.
We got some pale babies.
Right.
They don't have that added, I think of it as just through that lens of representing themselves and our family well. But it's got to be tough to have that added pressure of feeling like you have to do that to fight against, some kind of stereotype as well.
Yes.
It's an added level of importance.
Yes. To always carry yourself in a certain way. First impressions is what you see. So yeah, it does at times. Still exist. It's not as prevalent as it was before, and but it still exists. But overall, people are nice and good. So, but yes, I do kind of push that on my girls. Yeah, or not just my girls, the family. That's just something I think as Black culture we kind of pass down.
And it's hard to know too, how much of it is like perceived and how much of it is real. Like if somebody, you feel slighted in some kind of way. I'm trying to think of how to word this because honestly, like it's a hard topic to discuss.
Very.
Right? Like
It is.
it's kind of an uncomfortable thing, but it's also important to like kind of have these conversations. So, I mean, we're both members of Mosaic Church. One of the things I love about that church is the fact that it's multi-ethnic on purpose.
Yes.
And it's something that's discussed frequently. And that church has kind of given everyone in it the platform of those initial skin deep analysis things that we do on each other. It makes it secondary to the fact of like, we're meeting in this place because we have these other shared values. And all that skin deep stuff becomes like a secondary thing.
Correct.
Whereas in like the normal society that we live in, there is some value in, there's a reason our brains immediately jump to like judging a book by its cover. Because like historically, there's some survival instinct there. There's been importance on like immediately recognizing that person's from a different tribe. My defenses should be up a little more or whatever, right?
Correct. Yes.
I just like that. I mean, Mosaic, for instance, has allowed you and I to be in a place where we're friends, and like without that, our bubbles very likely wouldn't have like intersected.
Correct.
Or, I mean, and there's countless examples of this where, I value you and our friendship and our conversations. And I'm just like, it's kind of hard thinking that may not have existed without a place like Mosaic.
Correct. Because
it is so against the social norm for somebody like you and somebody like me to like be friends.
Right. Yeah. I commend our church tremendously for, pushing that agenda and making sure that it happens. They are in a community. I live in that community. I'm proud of that community. And just to continue to push that agenda that, listen, like you say, this is what you see at first, but in heart, we're all out here trying to do all the same things. We love each other. We're all trying to help progress. And, my real estate at this present moment is still in that area, the 72204. I know this is
what?
Right.
That 04.
Yeah, that 04. So that's just where it's at, for right now. Wherever God leads me will be where he leads me. But part of it is because of the church. I love what they have done and what they have represented as far as diversifying and showing the love of God.
I've always said you're able to have conversations there. Like one of the big reasons we have that business leaders group there is like within that space of that church, we're able to have conversations that outside of there just don't happen, or will get you like fired or canceled or whatever.
Yeah, they can get heated. Yeah.
Yeah, but for some reason, it's like once people step foot in there, it's like it's like everyone just kind of automatically just takes on this understanding of we're all coming from a place of like love and wanting to understand. And it's not coming from like a hateful place or whatever. It's like, I've had some really tough racial conversations in there. And they're still like uncomfortable and kind of weird and touchy, but you're able to have them.
Right.
And everyone's able to like leave better for it. Cause I'll just say this, like a lot of what Mosaic helped me realize is like, I was never intentionally racist. You know what I mean? But through having a lot of conversations there, I realized I was unintentionally racist.
Correct.
I was accidentally, and just through pure ignorance, I was in a very Caucasian bubble. And I did business and I was friends with people that were predominantly Caucasian. And it was just because It was just because that's the way it happened.
Right.
Your brain, it's like your brain is just focused on survival and it wants to keep you on like the easy path. Mm-hmm. And everyone else's brain is doing the same thing. So it's like, if you're not actively seeking the uncomfortable stuff, your brain will just naturally keep you in the comfortable, right?
Absolutely.
And so what I realized is it's one of those things that I've always said about hiring contractors or vendors to do work for you and stuff like that. It's like, if you're not, or even like having children or a spouse, if you're not intentionally focusing on it, it's unintentionally happening either way.
Right.
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 And so realizing that, it's like, oh, like I have to be
a little bit more proactive,
intentional about it.
Yeah.
And through that intentionality, it's been amazing.
Right.
Realizing that there are so many more perspectives out there, mm-hmm. and a lot of them are really good, right. And stuff that I just wouldn't have thought about it that way if I hadn't gotten out of my
little bubble.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Something that, again, our viewers are going to be everywhere, but something that I've heard from Caucasians, most of it, don't go south of 630. And that's really offensive. We're educated. And to even say that in a city where the University of Arkansas, which now is what, U of A, Little Rock, mm-hmm. is south of 630. Mm-hmm. So, there's a lot of doctrines and degrees that come out of that area. So, like you say, sometimes that may be something that is said, and it's just, jokingly, but it's offensive to somebody that lives south of University, or south of 630.
Yeah.
Yeah. So those are just little things that, like you say, not intentionally you're being, but just to say that kind of like,
yeah,
I've heard that several times, and I'll be in a setting and I'm kind of like, okay, I live south of University or south of 630.
Yeah.
You don't think I'm good people? I am.
Yeah, you are for sure.
Right. But yeah.
And I mean, Little Rock is so divided. And I mean, we're in history books for mm-hmm. being divided. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I was certainly inactively like complicit in that. I grew up in West Little Rock. And 630 is one of the big like dividing lines, right? Like it's just kind of one of those it's literally a geographic line on the map. And if you look at stats kind of showing that, it's like there's a lot more crime south of 630.
It is.
Real estate's less expensive south of 630. Mm-hmm. It's easy to kind of see why those biases exist mm-hmm. when you're just looking at zoomed out stats on a piece of paper.
Right.
But then you get into that area south of 630 and you meet wonderful people like yourself. And
right.
I mean, I'm technically south of 630,
right.
Yeah. And I think it was easier when I was younger to just kind of like make those blanket statements. Mm-hmm. And the older I get and the more I work on myself and my compassion, my understanding, you look at stuff like that now as just the absurdity that it is.
Right.
There's great people everywhere.
Very much.
There's bad people everywhere.
Yeah. Like right. You can have things happen in any area of the world or in the United States. So to say this area, and I mean, but it does have a little bit more crime or whatever, but in general, there's not a day that I don't walk out of my house and I'm kind of like looking over my shoulder. I ride my bike. I eat, sleep, and breathe. I never think about, is something going to happen to me today?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can't live in that fear.
No, I don't.
Yeah.
No. But anyway.
Well, and some of my best tenets have been in a $650 house south of 630, $650 a month. Some of my worst tenants have been in fancier houses in nicer neighborhoods.
Just people, you have to, you can't categorize them by a demographic or a geological area,
Well, just how much energy are you wasting, like hating,
Yeah. And it does. I mean, I can say south of 630 still needs improvement. I mean, that's why my real estate is where it's at. You know, I have coined in my head that I don't call myself, when people ask me what I do, I don't necessarily say I'm in real estate. I say I'm a community investor.
Love that.
Yeah. To where, it's not that I pick and choose, which, you have to buy what's available. But I look at it. It used to be a show called Curb Appeal on HGTV years ago. They would pick a house and do the outside, and then they would choose 2 or 3 houses on the block to kind of redo the landscaping to bring up the value. That's kind of how I look at when I purchase my properties. I want to bring kind of the neighborhood and the value and the morale up. Because sometimes when you're in those neighborhoods and you just don't see a way out sometimes, because you do sometimes see, we have a lot of unsheltered people in our neighborhood, and mental health is big in the neighborhood. Our church has been awesome. Again, hate to keep shouting out Mosaic Church, but it's just a lot of different things that go on in the neighborhood. But I know that I am there. I have been planted there to be of service. So my tolerance level is very high for some things that some people probably couldn't. It may not be for everybody. But I know that I'm over there for a reason. And to be of service and to beautify and
just to like beautify the.
There we go. That's a simple word. Beautify the neighborhood.
Yeah,
yes.
Beautify.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's a word. It sounds good.
Sounds great. That's that Southern talk. We'll make a word.
Beautify.
Right.
Yeah. Well, and it's not to do a shameless plug for the podcast, but it's that purpose, right? Like everyone understands the hustle. Hustle is a big, buzzword. Nobody needs a definition. But you don't hear many people talk about purpose. And that's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
It's like, is hustle really more important than purpose?
The purpose, right.
And they both have to coexist. It's like the hustle will help you find your purpose. And the purpose helps you sustain the hustle. Like you said, it's like that purpose, feeling planted, allows you to have the tolerance to put up with some stuff and to reinvest into a neighborhood that other people may not. Like you need people with the vision and the dream and the purpose to push some of these things that otherwise may not happen because it's hard. Yeah,
it's very hard, and that's why I say the purpose keeps me, because there's days that I get tired, but I think that's with any business. Your cash flow gets tight, you get tired.
It's always tight.
Yeah,
It's always
correct. You just get tired, and then you see things, and of course So my actual real estate business or community investment business is called Four Corners Investments. But the University District, the corner, I got it. First of all, I call myself making it up, but come to find out, God always connects things. But that area of Asher, Colonel Glenn, and University is actually called Four Corners. The city has that on their map as the Four Corners. It's a major corridor.
Yeah,
that,
it is.
A lot of times we have these different neighborhoods that pop up, like south of Maine but that area is called University District. But that little corner where our church sits is called Four Corners.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, even in our own community, don't know that.
Yeah.
And I found that out. But there's just on that corner, there's always panhandling. But within the panhandling, the mental health issues that you see that, like you say, when you live in different communities, you're kind of removed. They might pop up here and there, out in a different community. But in my community, it's pretty much an everyday occurrence.
Oh, yeah.
The panhandling, definitely for sure.
Yeah.
But the mental health, that is something that I have like really kind of talked to myself about, because even with me, I have anxiety issues about how I'm going to keep this business running. So I've learned to like mentally detox, like take time, take days. I've really dedicated saying, hey, Sunday is off limits. God said 1 day, you get 1 day, please take it. So, that has really become kind of I've come to be empathetic of that, as well as that I also need help too. Yeah, I've had a lot of tragedy happen in my life, and at times I just want to give up. I had, 2 sisters killed in a car wreck. I raised their children, and thank God everybody's grown and on their own now and doing well. But
how many? It was a bunch.
It was a bunch, yeah. It's yeah. I don't even want to name them, name as many, but it was a lot, and everybody's doing good. But I literally was stuck for 15 years, I would say, in a fog, angry, mad at the world. Had an ego that somebody owed me something, because I've always been a service and giving person. But then sometimes I think when you give and then you feel, oh, what was me? Nobody helps me out. But sometimes we volunteer ourselves to do things that we shouldn't do because God didn't even ask us to do it. And we put ourselves in position and wonder why, well, nobody looks out for me. I look out for everybody. Well, did God tell you to do that? But because I wasn't clear-minded and not dealing with my tragedy and my trauma,
right?
I've made so many mistakes. It's not even funny.
I don't think you're alone in that.
Yeah. But getting to now where I'm at now is that I literally have a therapist on dial. Because sometimes I'm just like, okay, you know what? I need a different perspective. In my culture, we just think that's not cool. Like,
right.
Yeah. What?
Like it's weak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I need to, because if not, I'm going to like literally burn down this whole block. So I've learned to kind of deal with my mental health and also be sympathetic to the people in my community that I deal with every day, pass by every day, to be more kind and don't just roll up the window and turn my head, because I see them out there asking for money, or they're standing on the corner singing or dancing or talking to themselves.
Screaming.
Yeah.
All kinds of stuff.
Yeah. So I've been kind of on this, well, I don't want to say kind of, I've learned to be more kinder.
It's back to that intentionality. It just doesn't happen without really working on making it happen. Like none of that's an accident. I think it's easy to look at somebody like you and be like, man, Nikki's always so nice and she's always so polite and like she's always offering, asking if she can do anything to help. And it's easy to just take that for granted as a person that's in your life and to assume that that's just kind of your nature and how you are, when in reality it takes a lot of intentionality and a lot of working on yourself, a lot of that journey of self-improvement. And it takes a lot of active staying on top of it to like remain that way. That victim mentality is horrifying to me. I've been in that hole. Digging yourself out of it's tough.
It's very ego driven too. Yeah.
It's all about you and woe is me, and it's it'll destroy your life.
Oh yeah.
I've seen seen it happen to other people, and it drives everyone in your life out of your life. It certainly doesn't create a lot of opportunities, and it just creates this downward spiral of, oh, woe is me, everything's out to get me. Mm-hmm. Well, then like you almost talk it into existence.
And then once you come out on the other side, you have to do damage control. And it's a long time before you prove, because sometimes people don't understand people change.
Yeah,
they do. They still want to judge you from 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. And, I think I saw a quote one time. It said, the past is for learning, the past is for living. No, excuse me, hold on. The past is for learning, not living. So don't live in your past, learn from it. And I have learned so much as I have matured in life. Just staying humble, because you just never know when things may change for you or when the next phone call will be.
Yeah.
I just, and judging somebody on their lifestyle or where they're at, man, yeah.
Well, and the more positive you are, the more those spontaneous blessings happen.
Correct.
Right?
Right.
For some reason, I had two things pop into my head. I had a Jay-Z song pop in my head. He's like, I would have went insane had I remained the same me. It's like, yeah, it's like past me couldn't handle the problems I have now.
Correct.
You get so much strength and resilience through going through that stuff. Mm-hmm. It's like, you can almost think of like a video game. It's like if God was creating us, like you would create a video game and a character in a video game, you're probably not a big gamer, but you'll understand the metaphor anyways. Right. It's like, if you want to make somebody tough, you put them through some stuff. Yeah. You want to make them patient. You make them wait for a long time.
Yes.
It's just part of it. Mm-hmm. The thing you want is on the other side of going through some stuff that you don't want. And I also had that Chris Rock joke like pop into my head where he's like, if you find yourself, your car broke down on the side of the road, mm-hmm. and you sit there with like your thumb out, he was like, nobody would stop and help me. But all of a sudden, I decide I've just got to push my car to get it to a gas station or whatever. I start pushing my car.
Everybody.
People stop and help when you're pushing the car. Mm-hmm. It's like that victim mentality has you sitting on the side of the road with your thumb out. Oh, woe is me. Nobody's stopping to help. Mm-hmm. But you start picking yourself up, doing some stuff yourself, mm-hmm. pushing the car. You might be surprised how many people stop and help you once you're doing some of the work.
Correct. And I think overall people want to help. And that woe is me again thing, like people want to help, but then you want to stay strong and like you got it together and you literally don't even ask for help. And there's somebody in your bubble or in that circle. And if not even in that circle, they may know somebody that can help you, but you just try to put on this pride and, I got it. Don't worry about it. That's just a big word in our community. I got it. I got this. But, it's better together. Yeah. And like you say, part of being that victim is just it's also prideful too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together kind of thing.
Right. Yeah.
I'm terrible about asking for help. Mm-hmm. I'm terrible about it. Some of it's probably pride. I want to present like I have it all together is probably part of it. And another part of it is I really hate feeling like I'm inconveniencing somebody else.
Yes.
I just hate it. I hate being late. I hate anything that makes me feel like I'm not valuing someone else's time.
Yes.
Because I value my time quite a bit. Mm-hmm. And, we tend to project ourselves on others, I think. Mm-hmm. And so if there's something I can do myself, don't do it. I just don't even think about asking for help.
I know.
It's not even a thought. I'm just like, I can do that. so I'll do it. I'll figure it out.
Yeah. I do that also. I literally demoed a house all by myself with the exception of the roof or the ceiling because I was scared to get on the joist on the ceiling. But I literally demoed a house all by myself, and there were several men that came. Well, it didn't have to be men, but several people in my community that was like, "Oh, we'll help you. Just let us know." And again, it was kind of therapeutic though.
Yeah, demo is my favorite.
Yeah, it was kind of therapeutic, but
putting stuff back together, not my thing. Skilled labor, I'm not your guy.
Yeah,
demoing some stuff.
Yeah,
I'm built for demo.
Yeah, me too. I'll attempt to lay some tile, and probably after the fourth tile, I'm like, okay, you guys can take over. I was just kind of playing. Yeah, I wanted to see how it worked.
Just having fun.
But yeah, I have that issue too of not asking for help. Again, not wanting inconvenience. But I literally just was kind of talking to God maybe 2 or 3 days ago, saying that next year, maybe for 2024, is going to be the year of help. Ask for help. Ask for help, like pushing myself out of my little comfort zone and asking for help, whatever it is, something simple, something big. Because like I say, most people, because I know when people ask me for help, I'm happy. I literally okay, what? Yeah, that's no problem. I don't mind. Let me,
right.
Most people want to help and give and feel like they're contributing to, a bigger picture.
Yeah. It's true.
But it really is. But I had told myself next year, I'm just going to literally ask whatever.
Yeah.
And just getting myself to the point that I can. And I'm not even scared of a no, because most of the time people say yes. It's like you say, it's all within us.
Yeah.
Of not
I
being.
rarely get a no.
Yeah. Right. Whatever it is.
And that's another thing is part of asking for help is I'm in my head, I'm okay, I'm just going to I want people to know if I'm asking for help that I'm not a boy that cries wolf. Mm-hmm. It's I want to rarely ask for help, and I want to save all that for
something major
when I need it.
You're right.
I'm of the mentality of I want people to know man, if GT called me and he asked for some help, it's because he must be hurting.
Right.
Right.
But then that also goes back kind of to my issue of that I say that we kind of get in these things to where we have to be careful about our mental health, because we will push ourselves to the point that if I finally call somebody, I'm on my last. And I am anxiety, the pressure, we can relieve some of that pressure off of ourselves if we just kind of go ahead and ask.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that happens every time, but because I'm with you. We were, especially I don't want to say that, but, we were raised to be hard workers.
Right.
And and everybody.
Independent and strong.
Yes. And you don't ask for help. So a lot of times we'll be overwhelmed. Mm-hmm. Can't figure it out, but you don't want to bother anybody. And it's literally somebody. I mean, you've given me so many. You've given me so much great advice and homework and say, Nikki, okay, you're going to have to do this. And I'm I'm so scared. I don't want to call the banker. And I literally call the banker and it works out.
Yeah.
And I could have had that taken care of 2 weeks ago.
But it's scary.
It is scary.
Yeah.
But you didn't give me the money.
Yeah.
You just gave me a good word and gave me advice, and I did it, and it's working out.
And some of that, which I'm so glad, I think it's First Community Bank. Mm-hmm. And they're all about investing in the community. Mm-hmm. I've had, oh my gosh, I'm blanking on his name.
Randy Jones.
Yeah, he's been on the podcast.
Yeah.
Great guy, great bank. I forgot where I was going with that. I just completely blanked.
Oh, that's okay.
Oh, I was going to say, this is now, but I didn't want to miss it. So I just had this thought as we were talking about it. It's in my fear of being the boy that cries wolf, it's we could almost write a second version of that book. It's the boy that didn't cry wolf. Mm-hmm. It's so afraid to cry wolf that you just get eaten by the wolf.
Right? It is so true.
Because you hold on to it so tightly and you don't ask for any help. And it's like, as you're just getting eaten by the wolf, because you're just letting your problems overtake you.
Yeah, very much. And God gave everybody different gifts and anointing. You're not the know-it-all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good book idea for somebody out there.
Definitely.
It's a terrible kid's book. The guy just gets eaten by the wolf at the end.
But it's definitely a good adult
a good
book.
lesson.
It's a very good lesson, because we do get on, to where we think we can do everything and just get overwhelmed. And now, like I say, the mental health comes in, and the mental health affects. You may just be trying to focus on one thing, and you are trying to be the boss in that one thing, but it affects so much more. So when you think you're handling, oh, well, you know what, I'll do my own demo. Meantime, I'm not, I got some chicken at the house and it's burning up. And now my husband has nothing to eat because I wanted to just do this demo completely by myself. And I stayed down there at the house way too long doing this demo. Now it's affected what we're going to eat for dinner tonight. So, it affects, our decisions just don't affect ourselves.
So true.
Yeah, they just don't. I mean, it seems so little, but they affect other people when we try to have it all and do it all.
And that's scary that our decisions have that effect on the world around us. But there's a big silver lining there too. The good that you're doing has good impact beyond just you. This real estate dream you've got for 72204 is like, that's the rising tide raises all ships. I've seen it firsthand. It's an incredible thing, and it takes somebody with a passion and a vision and that purpose. And I remembered what I was going to say earlier. You were giving me a, excuse me, a compliment on giving you good advice. And I just want to come back to it real fast, because as somebody, because I think you're this way too, as somebody that struggles in asking for help, and as somebody that wants to be of service and offer help a lot of times, because I know you're that way because you've been that way with me. What I have found is not only do I need to improve on asking for help, I also need to guard how much I just pour out, because you can leave yourself like very empty.
Yeah.
Right? And so when thinking about me giving you homework or recommending lenders or whatever, it's like I've worked a lot on how I offer help, because what I found was a lot of times I could be selfish in like solving other people's problems.
Yes.
Because that is my natural inclination. I hear somebody has a problem. They bring it to me. I assume it's because you want me to fix it. My wife can relate to this because I've had to work on it a lot in our marriage, right? Because like sometimes she just needs to vent about a problem and she doesn't want me to fix it.
Right.
That's really tough for me. I assume if you're talking about a problem, it's because here's 3 actionable steps, right? Like that's just my go-to. Like as a business leader, that's even more in my nature, because problems need solving.
Correct.
So I stay in that mode all the time. It's just like, get a phone call, HVAC's out over here. Cool. Send this person, get these 2 quotes, whatever. Like it's just immediate, like they're just problems. They have to be solved. Right?
Correct.
But what I've found is that left me in this like really jaded spot with like helping people, because, and I had somebody tell me this and it's been really helpful. It's like, if somebody comes to you with a problem, a lot of times it's better, or like, they want mentorship or they want help with this. Is that just words they're saying, or do they really want it? Are they sitting there with their thumb up asking for a ride? Or are they pushing a car and you can hop in and help them like push the car, right?
Right.
Or you can stop and give them a little gas so they can get to the next stop, whatever.
Right.
And what I was guilty of doing is just jumping in to solve other people's problems. And in my head, I'm like pounding my chest. I'm the hero. I solved the problem. Right?
Yeah, definitely me.
But in the reality of it, is like, did I teach the man to fish, or did I give him a fish?
Correct.
And a lot of times I was giving the person the fish.
Yeah.
And then they're just in a place where like their immediate hunger was solved, but they're going to be hungry again at dinner time.
No.
And they're going to be hungry again at breakfast the next day.
Yeah.
And so I've really been trying to think more critically about it. Mm-hmm. And like, could I have helped you in a way where it's like, we figure out some kind of financing and I just like make it easy for you. And I'm just like, yeah, here's a check. Maybe. And it could have made sense for both of us. And like that deal could work. Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm. But I'm going to have to charge you more in interest than the bank's charging you.
Correct.
It's going to have to be, it's just, if it was necessary, maybe. But it is far better off for you as a person that I know and I care about and have a relationship with to do the uncomfortable thing, go through dealing with these lenders, building that relationship. Maybe the process takes a little longer, mm-hmm. but hey, you come out on the other side of that with a relationship with a bank, a great understanding of kind of how all of that works. And you are in a better position for long-term success.
Correct.
You didn't just get the fish so you could eat tonight. You've got the knowledge and the skill set to go fish for a lifetime. Right.
Yeah, you're completely right. As far as helping, that I also looked at like when we overstep in helping people, because I'm like you, pound on your chest. I can just solve it real quick. Especially because we're people that are in the community and we have resources. If you can't do it or I can't do it, I can probably make a phone call,
right?
And or whatever. But I also learned in that it was ego driven sometimes, mm-hmm. And then also it's almost a slap in God's face, because if you don't sit still and be led, you kind of you end yourself in some binds, because God really probably never, I want to say that you just have to be led, because when you step in and jump in and help, God may be trying to teach that person something, or he wants them to go so they can learn something. But because we think we know the answers and we got it together, you're basically slapping God in the face because you think you know it better than he knows it and you got the answers. So I've had to, what I have kind of learned, because, these phones, people have access to you all the time. I've learned if somebody asks me to do something. Now, I mean, okay, of course, if somebody's child is left at school, okay, no, that's immediate.
Yeah.
But like I've learned to look at the text and just kind of like put it down and not answer. Even if I have I know I can do that. Do I have availability? I know. Yeah, I do. But I wait and just kind of let something settle in my gut of like, which way can I move? Because I have literally let people, and we all have done it, borrow money, borrow my time. And again, that victim mentality starts coming up. And then, but how can you play victim when you stepped in and like put yourself right in the firing range?
Right.
Yeah. So, know, and then here we go again. This whole thing, I keep coming back to this mental health stuff. It all kind of ties in, because sometimes we put our own self in that because we're helping too much and we weren't led. Were you really told to, go do X, Y, and Z, but because you had the time, I don't mind.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Woodson Walker's been good for me on that. It's a guy that we both know.
Yeah.
And he has told me multiple times the importance of guarding my time. Mm-hmm. So I'm terrible about it. Some of it, I know it comes from years of my life feeling like I was just scratching and clawing for anybody to give me any kind of opportunity. Mm-hmm. I mean, just like fighting tooth and nail to feel like I was getting any kind of traction, right?
Right.
Saying yes to literally every opportunity because I needed money. I needed, I just needed things to be happening.
Correct.
Right? and I've always had kind of that action over everything kind of mentality. Then you find yourself at the place that you always wanted to be, where now you've got that traction and now things are happening. And it's easy to look up one day and say, oh man, I've just been saying yes to everything and everyone for so long. And the opportunities come and like, that's great. And I'm thankful for it. But you look up and you're like, I've got to learn to stop saying no.
Right. Because people also get to the point where they expect you.
Yeah.
And then feel some kind of way when you say no.
Yeah.
Like, I have my own life I have to kind of tend to also.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's hard to find that balance because the people that are in my life, I love and care for them and want to be there for them. I like supporting and helping and feeling. I want people to feel like I'm somebody they can count on.
Right.
But like, and my buddy may listen to this, but like, dude, I found myself the other day, like helping a buddy unmount his TV in his apartment. And like, I'm happy to do it. I had helped him mount the TV when he had moved into that apartment a year before. This is just going to sound terrible, but I found myself helping him unmount this TV in his apartment. And he was moving in with his girlfriend and into a house. And a few days later, he asked me if I could come help him mount the TV at the new house. And like, I can't help but just feel like you could get anybody to do this.
Right.
And like, I never want to be that person that like, dude, my time is a little bit more valuable than like mounting TVs, unfortunately. But like, I've just gotten to a point where like, even filming this podcast is like, it's hours out of my day that like, I'm choosing to do this because I enjoy it and I think it's valuable.
Right.
But like, there's some high paying tasks I could be doing other than like helping my buddy mount his TV.
Yeah.
It's just kind of like, dude, I've got 3 kids at home, 4 and under.
Right.
Got a wife. Like I've got multiple businesses I'm trying to run. Like, I just don't want to be that jerk of a friend, but like, can I pay somebody to come help me like mount your TV?
Yeah.
Like, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah.
As bad as that sounds and how hard that is for me to say it, like, especially on camera, it's just like, dude. Like,
no, I mean, I totally get it because like you say, we have been the people that people learn to, they can depend on us.
Right.
But we have gotten to a place in life, not that we've made it or anything,
that's not what I'm trying to say.
I'm very selective and picky now, and I really probably shouldn't be like that. But I mean, I've raised kids. I'm done. I'm at the point that I say this, life dictated me for so long. Now I dictate my life. Yeah. And if I choose to eat a bologna sandwich, that's what I'm going to do. And I'm not going to let anybody judge me for such, but I'm the same way. Listen, can I pay somebody to do that for you? Cause I don't really, in my community, I guess I feel like I don't drive a fancy truck, but I have tools and different stuff. And people, well, can you come over and hang my curtains? I'm kind of like, okay, well, I'll give you my toolbox. If you have a problem, give me a holler. But like,
here's a YouTube video on how to do it, and here's a screwdriver.
Yeah. I'll give you my tools, but I don't want to spend it's 5 o'clock. I'm really kind of old school.
Yeah.
The work day. Now, granted, I will go past 5 o'clock, but I'm kind of old school on some things. 9 to 5. After 5 o'clock, of course, I still take phone calls. But 9 o'clock is a no-go. I'm old school on that. You don't call nobody. Yeah. I won't answer your phone. I'll get back. I wake up early. You might get a response at 7, 6 in the morning. But no, I'm very mindful of my time and what I kind of do. And I'm kind of like, okay, you guys are, like you say, younger. Look on YouTube or Google that. And I know it would be easier for me just to come over there with my drill or whatever and get it up.
To give you the fish.
Yeah. Yeah. But you have to kind of, like you say, be protective.
Yeah. And I don't want to be prideful.
Correct.
And I think that's my fear.
Yes.
Is I don't want to feel like anything's like beneath me, or to people to feel like helping them in some kind of way is beneath me, because it's not that.
Right.
Or I try to make sure that it's not that. But like, it's hard for it to not feel a little disrespectful when somebody asks you to do something for them that you know full well they're capable of doing.
Correct.
Like hanging a curtain.
Yeah.
Or like mounting a TV.
Yeah.
And like there's things like that it's like, it would never have crossed my mind to ask for help with that.
Right. Yeah, we save our ass for something bigger, like, something. And again, I try to, like you say, whether is it pride or being selfish, like, I also am learning as I mature that, I was raised in a generation to where everything was more manual labor, physical labor. Nothing was, you just kind of went out there and figured it out. Nothing was on YouTube.
ChatGPT wasn't doing it for you.
Correct. There are like I say, I was raised under my dad. I know so much about cars and so much about houses that most men look at me, and I run into that in the industry all the time.
Yeah, being a woman.
Being a woman, not even necessarily a Black woman, but being a woman.
Yeah,
they'll look at me like, oh, okay, she actually does know what she's talking about, because I'll question like, okay, well, why did you do that? Because in my mind, I'm thinking that's not what I'm used to seeing. But what I'm realizing, because of the newer generation, and I try not to separate, old school versus new school, but there are some gaps that I feel like the new school kind of get left out because they don't know how to change a tire, don't know how to change an oil. That's all done for you. Yeah. You literally drive up, and I changed my first oil when I was 15.
Yeah.
That was just something that we had to know how to do. Yeah, change our oil, change a tire. Hard. Yeah. You'll be surprised how many, and I'm not trying to get on gender, but men that don't know how to do certain things when it comes to a house.
Oh, it's awful.
Yeah. Don't even know that, okay, if you have a water leak, go out to the main line and just turn with the plier and turn the water off so you don't like flood your whole house.
Oh, they don't know where their shutoff is, or
of course not.
Or changed an air filter. I mean, like, there's some basic stuff.
Yeah, and that's why I say when I go back to at the previous, in the beginning of the podcast, there was just some things that I feel like old school wise, we were trying to delete out of history, but there's some things that I think, just knowing how to do manual things and just a lot of old school things that have been deleted that probably shouldn't have. I know everything's more convenient. Why should I do that? I can pay for somebody how to do it. Well, you're going to end up on the side of a road one night.
Yeah.
Might want to at least know where your jack is.
Yeah. It's a good idea.
Yeah.
And this is all stuff I fully intend on making sure my kids know.
Yeah.
Right? Because like, as a parent, I feel like my job is I would be doing my children a disservice to not teach them all of that stuff.
Right.
It's easier for them as adults to choose to not use their manners than to learn them if they were never taught them as an adult.
Right.
It's like there's some things that are easier to go one way than the other. Mm-hmm. It's like you got to do all that upstream work when they're kids, I think.
Right.
Because the world's going to push them downstream.
Right.
It's like you just got to push them as far upstream as you can while they're young.
Right. Give them as much knowledge and valuable lessons that you can while they're underneath your care. I've always said that once kids get past 18, and I get a lot of flack for this, they no longer belong to you. You're their guidance counselor because they have their own mind and they belong to the Lord. And we don't know, we can want all we want for them to be a doctor or whatever, we don't know what their anointing and gifts truly are, but God does. Yeah. So at that point, you can rant and rave. You better go to college. You need to study this. You need to do. They don't belong to you anymore.
Yeah.
And people give me a lot of flack when I say that, but I'm just like, truly, I don't even belong to my own self. I would love to be on the beach, but God sees fit for me to be in 72204. Revitalizing, that was the word, revitalizing. Yeah.
It's better than beautify.
Right, better than beautify. Revitalizing a community right now. I would love to be in a Caribbean place right now.
It does sound nice.
Yeah, but as of right now, His will is for me to be in 72204.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're talking about being a woman in construction, not only a Black woman, but a woman. Mm-hmm. And I was just thinking, like, it's funny because I've faced some discrimination in construction as well. Being a white guy with a beard, everyone just thinks I know everything. I have like the opposite problem.
Oh, well.
It's like some of these contractors just start talking jargon to me. And I do know a lot of stuff now, but I'm like, it's just funny. Like, I feel like I do get some of the opposite. There's like, he's got boots on. He's got a beard.
Right. He
knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah. That is, you know what? And that's perspective. See, that's when you sit down.
We all have our cross to bear, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. When you sit down and actually have conversations with you, people are like, okay, there's a other side to that. Like, yeah, that's funny. I would have never, but I probably would have again, look, oh, okay, he drives a truck and boots and yeah.
That dude knows what's up.
Right.
It's like,
he like doesn't know nothing from nothing.
Nope.
No, don't ask me.
I just write the checks.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, that's hilarious.
I was just thinking about that. It's funny.
You look the part.
It's all an act.
Yeah.
It's all an act. So a little bit on real estate, just because I think your story is awesome. I think it can show somebody out there that, like, it's possible, right? Like we had a question the other day. We were answering some questions on real estate Reddit stuff. Mm-hmm. And one of the guy, I think it was a guy, it had like a Reddit username, and I seem to remember it being something masculine, but he was like, is it really possible for someone in their 40s working a normal 9-to-5 to buy an investment property or something? And it's like, yeah, it is. Like, is it going to take some sacrifice? Is it going to take some education on like various ways to like make a deal happen? Like, probably, but it is 100% like doable.
Correct.
It's not there. It's very hard to find an avenue of real estate investing that's like reinventing the wheel. Right. It's been done for a long time. Yes. I mean, real estate's been transacted since that forever. Right. You know, and so your story and a little bit of your real estate investing, if you want to talk about that a little bit. So how many houses do you have now?
3 doors. Yeah. Here in Little Rock, working on a 4th one now. Hopefully we'll be closing by the end of the month. I have a few doors in Wichita, Kansas. Okay. So I guess we would say 7 to 8 total. Yeah. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. I watched one of your podcasts and I, not to, you said, don't just say, oh, I just have. Right. Yeah. I've learned to.
Because I do that too.
Yeah. I'm grateful. Yeah. Grateful. Yeah. And one of those houses, because like I say, different generations go through different things and they push, my dad's generation work at a factory. Work at that job 40, 50 years.
Yeah, get a gold-plated watch.
There you go.
40 years.
Nowadays it's like, let me find my passion and my dream and whatever, and they'll keep jumping.
Well, you used to get a pension.
Yes. Yeah.
When was the last time you heard of a job offering a pension?
There you go. So my first property I bought when I was 19. My dad was adamant about not renting. You know, back then when he was being brought up, people of color were not allowed to purchase a home. They were denied being able to purchase homes.
Yeah.
So, you know, his generation.
It's crazy how recent that was.
I know. For him to, you know, had been living to tell me that story, that is still recent. I know it seems so far removed, but so his thing was, you know, find you a good job and buy your house, don't rent, you know, own something. So he was very adamant about, you know, purchasing your home and not renting all your life. So I bought my first home at 19 in the same 72204 area.
Okay.
And
so how'd you do that?
It was traditional financing.
Okay.
Yeah. Regular conventional loan.
Yeah.
I was 19 and
had a job and got approved. And
got approved.
Bought a house.
And that was that. Never thought at that.
You remember the interest rate on that loan?
I don't. That's weird. Well, it's not weird, but yeah, I got a little bit. It would
be interesting to know.
Yeah, now that I may have to look that up, but yeah, a little far. That was over 20, 30 years ago. Yeah. But I bought that house, and that's what I say, communities and different things change. When I bought that house, the whole block was nothing but white people, older white people. Yeah. I was the first little black family that came in.
Yeah.
And
how did that go?
They loved us.
Good.
I've always kind of somewhat been a people person.
Yeah.
Like I can get out in public and talk, but when I get in the house, I'm like, hey, okay, leave me alone. I'm good. I get in my little corner.
Yeah.
But I started my real estate at 19. I bought my first home. And I remember God kind of planting a seed then, but I raised children and all that I was like, oh, this is such a cute block. It's only 6 houses on the block. Mm-hmm. I was like, I would love to own all those houses. That was something I said over 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Of course, my sisters passed away. I get the children. I have to move into a bigger home. We lived over by Central that I don't even know how many rooms this house had because I had all the children. So I moved away from that block. But 30 years later, God has me back on that block. The 6 houses, as of right now, I own 3 more of those houses on that block and in the process of trying to purchase all 6. Yeah. So I have did a full circle. God has brought me right back in that community.
So cool.
Yeah. And just speaking something, you know, sometimes we think things are going to happen immediately.
Yeah.
I just kind of said that years ago. I remember saying that to myself when I was 20. I was like, I would love to own this whole block. It was, you know, it's right over by U of A in Little Rock. And I just said that over 30 some years ago.
Yeah.
And for him to have me come back and that's actually coming into fruition now, it's humbling. And it's also like, God doesn't forget your promises or his promises and what he said he's going to do. You just have to be patient. Sometimes he has you doing other things, serving in another way. Because his timing is
something else.
Yeah. That is an adjustment. We want it so bad.
Right now.
Yeah. But then I think I had one house, the house that I was saying that I raised the children in over by Central. I loved that house, the bones of it. It was so beautiful.
Like Quapaw District?
No, this is literally Quapaw District is further down. This is literally 2 blocks from Central.
Okay.
I think that neighborhood is called Centennial neighborhood. Most people wouldn't know it from that. But it was so beautiful. I loved it. But I tell you what, if I had that house right now, I would be miserable. The gas and electric bill. I mean, it was good for when I was raising the children.
Right.
But for me to be in there with my husband now, I mean, the gas bill and the electric bill, and I mean, it was like 4,000 square feet. And I know people live in 10,000 square feet houses.
Older, draftier.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I would just literally, now that I know what I know about houses and real estate, some people would love it. But for me, I wouldn't want that upkeep.
Right.
Yeah. So it's like, I go back to saying, be careful what you think you want. God will have you go through a season and you think you want. I fought for that house. I wanted that house. And boy, if I had it now.
Well, for the season, it sounds like it was.
Oh, it was wonderful.
Needed and.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I wanted to stay there so bad. And now that I look back, I'm like, boy, Be careful what you think you want versus what God knows he needs for you to, where he needs you to be and what he wants you to do.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't want to gloss over the fact that, I mean, you're pushing, you're on your way to double digit doors.
Wow. Guess I didn't look at it like that.
That's a big deal. I mean, that is far, far, far above average, and if you think about the fact that your grandparents lived in an age where buying property wasn't an option, it's easy to see why there's still so much racial tension and stuff like that, because it's like, I mean, we're now living with a generation of people that it's like, they grew up with their grandparents, like telling them stories about some of the like atrocities of this nation.
Right.
I mean, and not only just the racial stuff, but the gender stuff as well. Like it's so crazy to me. Like my mom, this is not to equate this to any kind of like racial inequality, but on the gender side of things, my mom grew up playing half court basketball because they didn't think women were capable of the like endurance it takes to play full court basketball.
Oh, wow.
And it's like, that's not that long ago.
Right.
Like shockingly not long ago.
Wow. I that's something in history that I didn't know. I thought, wow.
Yeah.
And now you have the WNBA. Wow.
Well, yeah. I mean, can you imagine?
Yeah.
Can you imagine a high school coming out now and being like, we're going to move the girls to half court because full court's just too tough?
Yeah. I mean, we would all
people would
get
be burned at the stakes.
Yes, exactly. I was going to we'll all like throw popcorn on the court and everything. Wow.
So it's like on one hand, it's like, man, it makes sense why we have a lot of this contention that we have now. Cause like a lot of that stuff is not.
It's not.
And I'm sure there's stuff going on now that we'll look at in a not that long and be like, wow. Like, I mean, I think our kids will grow up in an age where they're like, you used to drive cars yourself? Like how dangerous was that? Like,
right.
I think that's not that far off.
It's not.
Be like, yeah, and it was fun too. I'd drive over the speed limit and like do all kinds of crazy stuff. But it's like, it's understandable why there's all this like tension on all these issues, but then also the silver lining of that is like how far we've come.
The progress. Yes.
Right. Like that is a source of, hope, right? Like not that long ago, you may not have been able to like literally legally not be allowed to purchase property. And now you don't have any of those limitations. You're able to become as successful as you want to be, hopefully. We're not, the U.S. is far from perfect, obviously.
Well, yeah, but we have definitely made a lot
But that
of progress.
trajectory is inspiring.
Yes. Yeah, it definitely is. Because like you say, there's still elders. That's why I say I am so big on respect and manners, because there has been so many roads that have been paved for us, no matter what culture you live in. There has been so many things that have been laid and sacrificed, and people have died for us to have all these amenities. It's pretty nice.
We take so much of it for granted.
Yeah.
Joe Rogan, in one of his stand-ups, he talks about like his power going out. And he's like, I'm sure all of you do the same thing that I do when the power goes out. And he's like, he goes and he sits on the stool. He's like, idiots, how long is it going to take him to get the power back on? It's like, that's so true. Cause that's exactly what I do. And it just makes you think like, man, I have no idea what it takes to keep this whole infrastructure going.
Right.
There's just people out there that I completely take for granted.
Yeah.
That keep all this stuff working.
Yeah. My internet was running slow. Not to say it wasn't running. It was running slow this morning. I had an attitude.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, as soon as I get done with GT, I'm calling them because I'm trying to figure out why is this this download speed, it's not working. Yeah. Just like you say, we take for granted the advancements and what people have actually did for us to have this lifestyle. that we have now.
He talks in that stand-up about like how none of us know how any of this stuff works, right? He's like, is anybody watching the smart people?
Right.
Is anybody monitoring them?
Right.
He's like, I know the dumb people are out there procreating like crazy. Who's watching the smart people? And he's like, if I, just to like prove a point about how none of us know how any of this works, he's like, if I dropped you on an island with nothing, how long until you send me an email? Right. And it's like, you could give me infinite amount of time. Like am I going to build a computer out of like coconuts and send you an email? Like never, ever.
No, it would never get to you.
But we just take all this stuff for granted.
We do.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
So anyways, what did we not talk about? If you could go back in time and give yourself one piece of advice, what would it be?
Work on your trauma and your mental health. It affects your whole life.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whether it's something small or something big, just work on that mental health aspect. It will benefit you. If you work on it, do the work. I'm going to say her name wrong, so comments, don't say anything. Ivana Van Zant is a lady that, I don't know if you know who she is, but she always says, do the work, honey, just do the work. And she's basically saying, do that right there. What's in there in your heart shows up in your mind. So I think if I could go back and tell myself, do the mental work.
Yeah.
And it'll benefit you. You'll be more clearer to make better decisions. You may not make the best decisions, but you'll be more clearer to make better decisions.
Yeah.
Yeah, better choices.
Where would you start? Because I used to struggle with people saying like, do the work, or like, you can do that, but it's going to be hard. And it's like, it almost just kind of hits me as like being through some of that now, I'm like, like that's what they meant. That was the work. And like, that's what they meant by hard. Right. But where would you recommend somebody starts? Because that's kind of a hard thing. Would it be get a therapist? Would it be a book?
Well,
where would you start? Where did you start? Getting
still. Being still. Detoxing from everything. And just being still. A lot of times this is just my opinion, a lot of times when you get in that still place and not what I think I heard, monkey chatter, you get in that still place, it can get scary sometimes. I've heard this quote too, be careful, don't go in a neighborhood by yourself. Your brain is like a neighborhood. Don't go in there by yourself. It can get scary, but if you consistently do it, it calms down the thoughts. I'm not talking about meditation. I'm just talking about really feeling what's going on. Could it be pride? Could it be selfishness? Could it be, like whatever it is, can you manage it? It's not like getting it in control, but just managing it better. And managing it is just like, if your bank account is out of whack, you can't just keep going. You have to sit, okay, where did I go wrong here? Let me manage this a little bit better. It's just getting still. I do believe in talking to a therapist. And I'm not saying that you have to talk to a therapist every week. I talk to mine when I keep having a thought or a feeling. It keeps coming up and I hadn't been able to manage it. I'm like, okay, no, I need a different perspective.
It's like going to a masseuse when you have like a knot somewhere. It's
correct.
Like you just got to get it worked out.
And I think a lot of times when I hear people say they think therapists tell you what to do, well, at least mine doesn't. If you have a good therapist, they don't tell you what to do. They give you a different perspective and give you some tools to manage whatever issue it is. And a lot of times when I go, I was looking at it one way and I'm like, oh, okay, that one was on, that's on me. I see it a little bit different. So, but it's just getting still and being able to talk. And it doesn't even have to be a therapist, but it does need to be a good quality person that, you trust their judgment.
You share values with.
Yeah. So
a lot of therapy is forced stillness. A lot of it is the same reason as I've gotten older, I enjoy mowing the yard. I enjoy, the rare occasion I do something like sit in a sauna. It's like, it's forced stillness.
Yes.
When I'm mowing the yard, I can't do anything but mow the yard.
Yes.
When I sit in a sauna or something like that, like I can't have my phone because it's 100 and something degrees and like it just bad environment for a phone.
Right.
And I'd find so much benefit in that like forced stillness. For me, it almost has to be forced.
Yeah.
If I'm sitting here at a desk, I'm too ADD. Like I'm too constantly in the state of like doing, fixing whatever.
Yeah.
That I almost have to find ways to like force that stillness. And therapy is one of those ways. Because like you're not going to sit on your phone because you're sitting there like face to face with somebody.
Right.
They're just kind of there to facilitate that conversation with yourself a lot of times.
Yeah.
You just work through a lot of your own thoughts just by having somebody there that just kind of facilitates that.
Yeah. And just listen. Because there's been times that when I'm talking to my therapist, I'll say something and I'll say it out loud and it's not in my thoughts. And I'll be like, okay, I understand it now. There was something deeper than my thoughts. So when I say it out loud, but yeah.
You're like, I just hadn't sat down and talked myself through that yet.
Correct.
And you sit down and you talk yourself through it and you're like, oh,
yeah.
You label that thing, that tension, that anxiety, that whatever.
And maybe where that came from, whether it was, years of, and that's one thing, I know we're getting to the end, but with all the trauma, because not only did my two sisters pass away, a year before that, my dad had passed away. Then my sisters, and then my mother was dying of cancer. So there was a lot of trauma. I almost, I realize now I had PTSD.
Yeah.
I didn't realize because people think, oh, you had to go to war to have PTSD. No, there's things that can happen to you in your life, rape or, whatever, that can give you PTSD that show up years later.
Yeah.
And
it's just post-traumatic stress.
Yes.
It's all kinds of
But we
traumatic.
try to like think, oh no, not everyday things can be post-traumatic stress. They can.
Well, your father, your two sisters, and your mother dying is not an everyday
all
thing.
Within 5 years.
Yeah.
My core family that I grew up with, gone.
And you taking care of all the kids.
Correct.
And you have, that's
correct.
There's no Nikki time.
No, I didn't even know Nikki at all. You ask Nikki what she likes to do. I
just survive in the day, man.
Correct.
Why are you asking me these silly questions?
Yeah,
I'm just trying to make it
you get
tomorrow.
In a survival mode, but if I would have taken that time to heal myself, I would have been better for the children that I was raising. They're good. They're all good kids. But I feel like, this is what I feel, I've damaged a few of them because of the way that I did not do my healing after all of that. So that's why I say, when they say kind of do the work, if you work on yourself, then, like I say again, hopefully you make better choices.
Yeah, I think it's great advice.
Yeah.
I'm still working on myself.
Oh, till we get up out of here.
Yeah, we're never going to be a finished product, and that's okay.
No.
Man, this was so good. Hopefully people take that advice, and hopefully, people will hear your story and see. I think it's evident to anybody that talks to you the work that you've done on yourself. Because I meet people now after working on myself quite a bit, and some people, it's almost like you get in this like secret club of people that have been on that journey, and it starts becoming very clear to you the people that like you can see their insecurities, and which I still have plenty, but there's a confidence in a way of handling yourself, I think, that comes with that work, that it starts to become really clear the people that have done it and the people that haven't.
Yes.
And
you pray for the ones that don't have it. We don't think that we're any better.
Because there is some there's some peace and understanding that comes with it. there's some confidence that comes through. I've been through this stuff before. You've been through this trauma before. If you've handled like raising nieces and nephews and deaths in immediate family, like not a lot you can't get through.
Right.
Being a landlord is going to be easy peasy.
It is. Let me say this. Let me back up just and then we'll be done. With that trauma, one thing that I did, and I've learned to try to let go, you try to control your life because you've had so many things happen to you that you're just scared for the next thing to jump off. And that was another thing that if you get still, you can, like I say, you can manage that. But I try to control everything.
Yeah.
So anyway, I think I just wanted to make sure that the listeners heard that, would hear that part, because a lot of times you start controlling your life.
Yeah.
Thinking you're controlling your life.
Right.
Yeah.
But really you're not leaving room for the things that are supposed to be happening because you're micromanaging it all.
Very micromanaging. Yeah, it was awful. But anyway.
This was so good. I really appreciate you doing it. I know it was a little bit out of your comfort zone, but you did great.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you.
This has been the Hustle on Purpose podcast. Thank you so much for watching and listening. Share this with somebody that may need this information. Go like the video on YouTube or listen to the stream on Spotify, and check out all of our other podcasts and real estate related videos. Hope you enjoyed it. See you on the next one, and hustle on purpose. Thanks for watching. If you liked that video as much as we liked making it, be sure to check out another one. You've got one here. You got another one over here. If you want to listen to the podcast audio only, go check out the Spotify link in the description. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please consider doing so. It helps us out a ton. And please hit the bell if you want notifications anytime we drop a new video. Hope to see you on the next one.